The best of Money Matters. The Hot Seat.
Welcome to the Hot Seat, a debate segment where ideas clash and insights spark. I'm your host, Hongbin Jeong. Now, in recent years, weight loss drugs have exploded in popularity, with one drug in particular, Ozempic, being hailed by some as a miracle. Originally developed to treat patients with type 2 diabetes, Ozempic's side effect of appetite suppression has made it widely used, and some argue that it is widely misused for the purpose of losing weight. Even A-list celebrities from Hollywood have praised its effectiveness. So with the rise in demand for these drugs among people without diabetes, are we witnessing a medical revolution? Or will this shortcut cause even more problems for people who are, obese or overweight? Therefore, today we will find out if the benefits of weight loss drugs are more than or worth more than the risks it poses. So before we hear from our guests and dive deeper into this debate, here's a disclaimer. The views and arguments presented by our interviewees do not necessarily reflect their personal beliefs or opinions. Instead, they are here to provide a fresh perspective on the topic at hand. And without further ado, to introduce our guest, joining us today is Dr. Shanker Pasupathy, who is the Senior Consultant and Medical Director of Digestive Centre at the Mount Elizabeth Hospital, to share with us why weight loss drugs might not be worth going through all the side effects that might come with it. And on the other hand, we also have Dr. Sue-Anne Toh, who is the co-founder and CEO and medical director of NOVI Health and adjunct associate professor at the Yong School of Medicine at the National University of Singapore, who will try to convince us otherwise. Welcome to the Hot Seat, both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, before we get into the debate here, let's discuss the pros and cons of weight loss drugs. Maybe we start with Dr. Toh here. What are the benefits of weight loss drugs?
Well, here we are talking about a specific class that has captured the attention of many people globally. Specifically, they are gut hormone mimicking drugs called incretin-based therapies, for which Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro are examples of them. Ozempic is semaglutide. That's actually the active compound, and it mimics a gut hormone called GLP-1. Okay. We all make it after we eat. It is released by the gut, and it's essential for regulation of appetite, gastric emptying, how we absorb food, how it signals to us that we feel full, and it regulates a lot of aspects of metabolism, which is how we break down that food for function. So in many ways, the breakthrough has been understanding that in people for whom there is an imbalance of this hormone signaling, this medication that is restoring that balance can be tremendously helpful, but it has to be used in conjunction with a very holistic approach, including nutrition support, as well as guidance on other aspects of lifestyle, such as functional movements, activity, so that we keep that muscle mass. Because at the end of the day, it's not about weight loss. Right. It's about gaining health and a healthy body composition.
Okay. Well then, Dr. Shanker, on the other side, what are the risks of weight loss drugs?
Right. The risks of these type of drugs, GLP-1s in particular, I'm just going to focus on this because there's really a quite wide variety of weight loss drugs. There's one group of patients who should not be using GLP-1s. That is, if you have a personal history or a family history of a rare kind of thyroid cancer called medullary thyroid cancer, these drugs are no-no. Okay, so absolute contraindication in this group of patients. But in the majority of patients, the side effects are actually quite common, and they are GI, gastrointestinal side effects. It's nausea, vomiting, bloating, sometimes a bit of lethargy, and quite often some disturbances in the GI tract like diarrhea, but more often constipation. These are the common side effects.
Okay, so now we've got the pros and cons of weight loss drugs. So let's discuss, are the risks of weight loss drugs really worth it? I mean, it's been reported that obesity is on the rise globally, and experts say that we should start treating it like a disease. So Dr. Shanker, if obesity is a serious and growing global disease with, life-threatening consequences, consequences, then why isn't it worth using effective weight loss drugs to treat it, especially when the risks are comparable to medications we kind of routinely accept for other chronic conditions?
Right. Hongbin, that's a great question. And I'm not against the use of medication. I just want to put it in the right context. And I think Sue-Anne just now mentioned about how food is also medicine.
Right.
And exercise and activity and movement is also medicine. So, and then we have medication. And in our practice, we have a full range of treatments for weight loss, and we include interventions as well. And there is a role for those as well. So I think you're right. We can use these medications, but we do need to understand where it sits in the whole spectrum of treatment options available.
Definitely. And Dr. Toh, but won't, endorsing weight loss drugs create kind of, or rather, if weight returns after you stop taking weight loss drugs, is this truly a sustainable solution?
So that's where the devil is in the details, and the details definitely matter. Like I said, in people who do have an imbalance in the signaling pathways related to this hormone, it can be suitable in conjunction with lifestyle optimization and management. In people who don't have this imbalance, the risks are definitely not worth it and not worth any potential benefits that they could gain. The benefits, though, now we know, include other aspects beyond weight loss. It does include protection against heart attacks, strokes, particularly in high-risk patients. The studies have shown in patients who do have existing cardiovascular disease, they do seem to get additional protection from being on this medication beyond the independent effects of weight loss. So it is about the right person, the right medication, with the right holistic approach and support to get sustainable results. Otherwise, I completely agree with you that it should not be used as a silver bullet, a quick fix, because you are bound to get rebound if you're not doing it in the right way. So the nutritional guidance, ensuring that you are getting balanced nutrition, you're not losing muscle, you're losing fat disproportionately to muscle, and you're achieving a healthy body composition. If one gets to that point, and you can then restore that balance in your hormone signaling and in your metabolism, then it can be sustainable. It does worry me when people look to a quick fix and just want to pop the pill or injection and hope that that's the end of it. It is not. It has to be used in the right setting, in the right way.
Right. I mean, people always try to take the shortcut, right? But now, back in May, the World Health Organization said it plans to officially back the use of weight loss drugs to treat obesity in adults for the first time. Now, Dr. Shanker, given WHO's support here, shouldn't we then welcome weight loss drugs instead of fearing them? How can one justify, opposing them when even the WHO plans to back its use?
Hongbin, that's a great question. I think one of the reasons for that is because these newer medications can achieve very, very good weight loss. So we're talking about 15 to 20% weight loss, right? Which is fantastic. Now, but the problem with that is, don't forget that we are in the honeymoon period. Now, what that means is these drugs have just been released and they've just come out in the market, and now we're doing post-marketing surveillance, aftermarket surveillance. I'll let you know that, in the last 50 years, there have been 25 weight loss drugs that have been withdrawn in different markets throughout the world for various complications, including cardiac problems, liver problems, drug dependence, suicides. So we're still in the honeymoon period. So I'm not going to jump in and say, everybody should be on it.
Right. And Dr. Toh, I mean, when it comes to these weight loss drugs and people are viewing all the news, how it makes you lose so much weight, as you mentioned, people might look at it as a one quick fix kind of solution, right? But won't endorsing weight loss drugs, even by the WHO, create kind of a negative ripple effect, encouraging reliance on pharmaceutical solutions for obesity over, healthier approaches like exercise?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're here, right? I think we all have a duty and responsibility. This is not an endorsement, quote unquote, endorsement at all. It's about education and helping people understand that what's game-changing about these drugs is that it does address an unmet need. If you're asking someone that has an imbalance in this gut hormone signaling pathway to eat healthier, it's like asking someone who doesn't know how to swim and doesn't have the right muscles to swim against a tsunami. It's virtually I wouldn't say impossible, it just takes monumental effort.
Right.
And this misconception that it's just a lack of discipline or willpower. It's like if you are swimming against a tsunami, there's really, in your best efforts, not much else you can do. What this does is sort of calm the waves down and enables people to build the right muscles and enables them to learn how to build the right swimming techniques, for example, to be able to then actually have a fighting chance at maintaining it. And that's crucial to understand. That's why we come back to the right selection of patients, as well as the right approach that's not purely dependent on pushing a medication.
Definitely. I mean, Ozempic in particular has been hailed as a miracle drug, but people tend to forget that it is meant to treat patients with type 2 diabetes, and they tend to focus on one of the side effects, which is the loss of appetite, right? And it's now widely used for weight loss, with the manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, generating substantial profits from the drug. So I want to ask you, Dr. Toh, so is this drug really treating obesity, or are farms just profiting off of it?
Well, as I mentioned, in the right people who actually do have a physiological need for this drug, it is tremendously helpful.
Right.
And the process of drug development is expensive. They have to do extensive research. They have to do extensive clinical trials. And they would have done these clinical trials in specific to this compound, semaglutide. There's been a series of studies called the STEP studies.
Right.
They've looked at it in a spectrum of patients, from those with diabetes, without diabetes, pre-diabetes, those with osteoarthritis of the knees, those with heart disease, and so on. And so generating that evidence base does cost something to provide a basis for informing how we use this well. And to be fair, then they do need to recover some of this cost in order to have a viable business model, in order to bring more solutions and tools to more people. Having said that, I always come back to healthcare is not like any other business. And that's why I think as doctors, we're so passionate about this. We need to ensure that it remains patient-centered and is not profit-driven. So fair recognition such that it can be sustainable, but we do have to, everyone in the ecosystem, do our part to make sure that it remains accessible and always centered on what's in the best interests of patients.
Definitely. Well, as Dr. Toh mentioned earlier, clinical trials have shown that Ozempic can reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes in people with type 2 diabetes and those who are overweight or obese with established cardiovascular disease. So, Dr. Shanker, if a drug can help people live longer, healthier lives, how exactly are the risks not worth it?
Well, the side effects, right, we only really know once they start getting used in the population. And so there's a couple of disturbing points of information coming out from the surveillance data. There is a slight uptick incidence of thyroid cancers, and no one can say, is this related to the drug or not? But in large population studies, there's been that's been noted. And also this problem with the optic nerve neuropathy causing vision problems, and that's also been noted in aftermarket surveillance as well. So, I'm quite sanguine about the treatment. I think it's a good treatment, but we really have to keep monitoring. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, like Sue-Anne said, we have a job. We have to do that job. We need to support patients. We need to take care of them.
Definitely. I mean, now many A-list celebrities such as Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey, they have admitted to using Ozempic, which further amplified the popularity of this weight loss drug. So, Dr. Shanker, if celebrities and top CEOs can bear the risk, why not the rest?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I wanted to touch on this point that our patients brought up as well. It's about Ozempic face and Ozempic booty. And the thing is, right, if you just take these medications without having a personal trainer like these guys all will have, they're celebs, they're on TV. So they take care of, the things that Sue-Anne talked about. Even if they're not going to a doctor, they are well taken care of nutritionally, training, exercise, and all those things. So if you don't do those things, then you're going to end up with this kind of problem. Now, who wants to have a sagging baking face and flabby butt, that's not a nice thing when you actually want to look good. So I think we do need to make sure that all the other aspects, as you're losing weight, you're also retaining good amount of protein, your collagen in the skin is there. So that's very important.
Well, on the flip side as well, Dr. Toh, isn't taking a weight loss drug to lose weight a fad then? I mean, taking a look at all these A-list celebrities, isn't it another celebrity diet trend people mindlessly follow and ultimately not a safer alternative to weight loss?
Yeah, so again, that's why we're so passionate about empowering people with the right knowledge and understanding. Otherwise, I think what worries me the most is that people abuse this drug and use it in a wrong way and in the wrong situations and get really bad side effects that could be dangerous. And then we might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater because, as I mentioned, unfortunately, there is a significant proportion of the population that do have this hormonal imbalance and dysregulation in this gut hormone signaling that stand to benefit. But even in those who do stand to benefit, it has to be used right. Shanker talked about the celebrities having access to the personal trainers and chefs, perhaps, so they don't have to think and everything they eat is tasty and balanced. That's why we're so passionate at NOVI Health about bringing that in a much more scalable manner and working as a team with dietitians and fitness trainers and using technological platforms to digitize a lot of that so that it can be more cost effective and much more scalable so that everyone can have access, like celebrities do, to the right kind of guidance and support that they need to be able to do well on these medications, because I come back to the fact that these medications are not a silver bullet and they should not be used in isolation. You do need that entire holistic support system to be able to achieve sustainable long-term benefits. If not, you get all these issues and you get rebound and you may be worse off. There is a phenomenon called metabolic adaptation. And you've probably gone through this if you try to lose a bit of weight. At some point it was easy. It gets harder and harder and harder. And that's because our body learns that, oh, you're not going to trick me anymore. I'm going to go back to this set point. But there are ways to mitigate that. I talked about the muscle mass. There are specific strategies. So with proper guidance, how much protein to eat, how to get that protein in a very personalized way. Because who wants to be counting so many things and there's so much cognitive load already? That support in a manner that's very easy to understand and keep up with, in conjunction with an understanding of whether they're the right profile for the medication and the potential side effects and how to deal with it. The side effects are actually related to how the medication works. It does slow down gut motility and it does help you put the signaling back on to know what's the right quantity of foods and quality of foods that you should be eating. So for example, if you have a chocolate cake that's made with unhealthy fats and bad ingredients, you might feel nauseous. But if you have one that's actually made with healthier fats, with good quality chocolate, perhaps you can afford to eat some of it without feeling sick or nauseous. So it's important to educate our patients about how it works. And in that manner, they can also get more of the benefits with less of the side effects.
Definitely. Now, the company behind Ozempic launched Wegovy in 2021 after Ozempic's popularity rose. Now, Wegovy is essentially the same medication, but given at a higher dosage. So, Dr. Toh, are we not dangerously then misusing Ozempic or Wegovy by promoting it as a miracle weight loss drug? I mean, isn't this essentially just a socially accepted eating disorder and a syringe?
Ooh, that's very, very dangerous, I think, a very dangerous path to go down. So firstly, let me just clarify that actually Ozempic and Wegovy are both exactly the same drug or medication. It's semaglutide. The way they ran the trials, they branded the diabetes trials with Ozempic and the doses go up to 1 milligram. Whereas for the weight loss drugs, it was branded Wegovy and the doses go up to high doses of up to 2.4 milligrams. But they're actually exactly the same thing. It's just that perhaps very good marketing or the influence of social media and people being on it, sharing freely. There's pros and there's a lot of cons to that too. And that perhaps is what's led to this misconception that, Ozempic is quote unquote the best, when actually it is the same thing. And actually there are also other medications in development in this family of gut hormones. Tirzepatide or Mounjaro is another example. And there are many others in the pipeline. So it's a very exciting time for this field. Obesity is a huge public health issue. It is fraught with stigma, but there are lots of opportunities for us as a society to work together to address this massive public health crisis.
Right. And Dr. Shanker, then in this case, how would you differentiate Wegovy from other drugs that have been made for, a different purpose? For example, wasn't Viagra originally created to treat hypertension and other heart diseases?
That's a great question. Well, actually, GLP-1s, which is what the drugs are all about, are very important signaling molecules in the gut. Mm-hmm. So when you make a copy of the GLP-1, then you are going to trigger all the different pathways that the GLP-1 signal. And we're finding out that they are profound, from affecting the liver to the kidney to the brain to how the body works let alone the diabetes function with the insulin and the pancreas. And people are using it now for addictions, to help to manage addictions. People are using it to treat dementia and looking at neurology problems and all that. So I think sometimes when you get a drug, you can't just say, I'm going to use it for this indication only. Aspirin is a painkiller, but we use it as a blood thinner, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just... how would you even think that? So we can't be narrow-minded. So we have to be open-minded to the possibilities, and we also have to watch out for the dangers.
Right. And we're almost out of time. So very, very quickly here, with rising global obesity rates, do we have the luxury of rejecting pharmaceutical tools, or should we keep an open mind and use every option available? Dr. Toh, maybe we begin with you.
As I mentioned, unfortunately, obesity, excess fat that impairs health, is a massive global health crisis. So we really need all the tools we can get. But remember, tools are tools. In the right hands, in the right setting, used in the right way, they are game-changing. But used in the wrong way, in the wrong hands, can really lead us down a very bad path. So I think the onus is on us to use those tools well.
Dr. Shanker?
Absolutely. We have to keep an open mind. Mm-hmm. When we understand the science, then the results can really be magical.
Thank you so much both for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've been speaking to Dr. Sue-Anne Toh, who's a co-founder, CEO, and medical director of NOVI Health, and adjunct associate professor at the Yong Lin School of Medicine at the National University of Singapore, as well as Dr. Shanker Pasupathy, who is the senior consultant and medical director of Digestive Centre at Mount Elizabeth Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in again next week for another Hot Seat. I've been your host, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.